Consensus flag bearer John Dramani Mahama is in a comfortable lead as per a poll by Global Info Analytics on who will win the 2024 elections. The question is, how relevant is this poll 11 clear months to December 7? We subject this to some analysis and a conversation on Ghana Tonight, especially all of these questions that have come up since Global Info Analytics released the details of their latest survey. Now, this latest poll by Global Info Analytics shows that the new patriotic party's Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is trailing the NDC's John Dramani Mahama as a candidate to win the 2024 presidential election. Now, the two candidates will go head-to-head in the December 7 polls to decide who leads Ghana starting from January 7, 2025. Now, I'm going to show you this. The details of this poll by Global Info Analytics, there are two of them. One was done in October and another done in December 2023. What you're seeing on the screen is the result of the December poll, which put John Mahama to 53.2%. This is as per the respondents who were surveyed. And let's take into consideration that according to the details published by Global Info Analytics, we have almost 6,000 respondents. That's 5,881 respondents were surveyed across the 16 regions of the country in 82 constituencies. John Mahama, 53.2%. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, 29.6%. Alan Chemanting, 7.7%. And Kofi Akpaloo comes in fourth with, well, not fourth as in the order, but he comes in per the appearance. You have Kofi Akpaloo, Kwabena Andrews, that is Sofo Chabosom, and then Hassan Ayariga following in as we go on. But what was done in October, the October survey is the one represented in with the green bar in this bar graph. In October, the poll results with same sample size showed John Mahama with 48.3% of the respondents of this survey saying they're going to vote for him if elections were conducted in October 2023. 48.3%. Then he increases to 53.2% when the survey was done in December. Question was that if elections was conducted in December 2023, this was a question put to the respondents. They said 53.2% of them said they were going to vote for John Mahama. And then if you look at Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, in October 2023, 28% of the respondents said they were going to vote for him. He inched up a bit to 29.6% when the survey was conducted in December. Now, Alan Chemanting rather saw a decline from 11.3% of the respondents saying they're going to vote for him to 7.7% in December 2023. Now, both Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and John Mahama are actually appreciated, or they appreciated in their number of persons who said they were going to vote for him per the survey, in the October survey and December survey. But Alan Chemanting saw a decline. But if you see the margin of increase between John Mahama and Dr. Bawumia, John Mahama had a lot more per the respondents who were surveyed. Now, if you look at the first-time voters versus the experienced voters are those who have already voted in elections before. Now, per the survey, the first-time voters in December indicated that 57% of the first-time voters said they were going to vote for John Mahama, as against 51% who were surveyed in October saying they were going to vote for him. So you see an appreciation between October and December 2023. Now, if you look at Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, per this survey, the first-time voters who were surveyed in October 2023, 25% of them said they were going to vote for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Then you also see an increase there in December, 27%. Then Alan Chemanting as well. And this also has a decline from 8 to 7% for Alan Kojo Chemanting. So that's what you see there. Now, question is, the question that was put to the respondents was, can the NPP break the 8? 27% of the respondents in October said yes. That declined to 21% in December. But if you look at the no's, in October, 55% of the respondents said the NPP cannot break the 8, as against 60% who said in December the MPP cannot break the 8. And then you look at those who said they have no opinion, 18%. That also increased to 19% as well when it was the survey was conducted again in December. So you get the analogy of what happened in October and then what happened in December 2023. It tells a story. Dr. Asante is a senior political science lecturer at the University of Ghana, Legon. There are a few more slides we're going to run through shortly. But Dr. Asante, thank you for time for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. First off, this poll has been conducted or done 11 clear months to the general elections December 2024. How does the dynamic of timing in this particular case, 11 months to the election, really impact the analysis of the details of this poll?
11 months is such a long time that a lot of things can change. There's no doubt about that. But normally, every research, and I'm talking about credible research, and every research should be able to give you some pointers as to what the interviewees they have in mind in terms of their views about the questions you are putting forward to them. Scientific research provides the basis for understanding the issues on the ground, and in this case, helping you to gauge the views of the people, what they aspire for, and what is it that at the end of the day, when the time comes for them to make a decision, what type of decision they will make. Depending on the question you put across to them, they will be able to respond and respond appropriately.
Absolutely. And apart from the timing, which I talked about, this 11 months that is one of the reactions to this poll, that 11 months, well, a lot could change. But then again, the other issue that comes up is also the sample size, 5,881. For instance, the persons associated with the NPP say that if you have a voter population of 17 million going into election 2024 and you sample 5,881, it may not be representative enough. But I just want to find out your thoughts on this, if that could be accurate.
This one, the statisticians can give you the exact, mathematics of it and all that. But what we are saying as we as social scientists, that the population that you select, out of which you select the sample size should be representative of the population. And the statistics and the mathematics, people have a way of using mathematics to derive this. So spare me this and give it to the statisticians to be able to tell you the exact mathematical numbers that they need to be able to address this. But what I know is that the sample that you take should be reflective of the population, and that is the way to go.
That's the way to go. But essentially, the point you make is that you cannot wish away the respondents' comments in this particular survey, for instance, even if it's 11 months away and then it's of a certain sample size. This response or this outcome, as we're seeing and we've just displayed, cannot be wished away, is it not?
No, every research, because remember, if it is scientific and it's properly done, it is the view of the people. You can't wish that away. And that gives you the opportunity to plan and plan well. It also makes it possible for you to identify your strengths and weaknesses. And you are able to also predict what is ahead of you. And then you are able to plan and plan well. So it provides a whole lot of, opportunities for you to be able to assess what you are measuring in a proper manner that will reflect the situation on the ground. But, you know, for elections, as we have done, they've done now, it is also important for them to continue a few months later to also gauge and see whether the same views hold and the rest of them.
So, sorry about that. Forgive me. Dr. Asante, very quickly before I let you go, would polls and surveys really play any critical role? Unfortunately, I lost Dr. Asante there. Apologies for that. And thank you for your thoughts here on Ghana Tonight, and also making the point about how the outcome of these results should be treated. But there's more to this. Take a look at this. There's a story that the outcome of the poll also tells. In terms of the direction of the country, these are what the Global Info Analytics talks about, the sentiments that the respondents expressed. In October, those who said the country is moving in the right direction were 23%. In December, when the survey was done again, 22% of the respondents said the country is moving in the right direction. Same with the people who said the country is moving in the wrong direction. In October, 70% of the respondents said the country is moving in the wrong direction. But in December, it dropped to 68% when the poll was done. Those who said they don't have an opinion were also represented. In terms of the job approval of President Akufo-Addo, 32% of the respondents approved of his work, that he is doing well in October, as against 31.6% who said, look, he's doing well in, I beg your pardon, 31.6% said he's doing well in December. Now, the disapproval rate in October 2023, 63% of the respondents said, look, he is not doing well. The same in December, you saw that also increasing as well. You saw that 62.9%. Now, finally, take a look at this slide. How do you describe your standard of living in the last 12 months? The respondents were asked this question. 18% of the respondents said that's sometime in October, said their standard of living had improved. In December, when they were asked the same question, 20% of the respondents said their standard of living had improved. In October, 47% of respondents said their standard of living had worsened. And that increased to 54% in December when that same question was asked the respondents. Those who said their standard of living had not changed, 30% in October, 22% in December. Those who said, look, I don't have an opinion, it's also represented there. But let's stay on the presidency a bit, and that's going to be our next conversation. Coming up next year on Ghana Tonight, the presidency has dismissed reports of politically motivated changes allegedly planned to be effected within the Ghana Armed Forces purposefully for terrorizing citizens during the 2024 general elections. We'll speak to a security analyst on this particular development and on also what the way forward should be. Now, this was a statement that the Office of the President issued not too long ago, refuting claims on social media alleging a deliberate attempt by the presidency to orchestrate politically motivated changes within the hierarchy of the Ghana Armed Forces, with the sole aim of using the military to brutalize citizens during the conduct of the December 7 election. That's what you see on the screen there. This statement signed by UGI, and according to the seat of government, the social media publication alleged further that a meeting was held at the presidency on Tuesday, 2nd January 2024, to discuss the so-called politically motivated changes in the Ghana Armed Forces. This is a statement from the presidency you see on the screen there. But the heart of this response by the presidency is a publication on social media. It's been out there for the past 3 or 4 days or so. Now, Colonel Festus Abaje retired, has served as a colonel in the Ghana Armed Forces. He knows how all of this works, and when it comes to the processes of making changes to the hierarchy of the Ghana Armed Forces. He's joining us. Colonel Festus Abaje, thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. The presidency is saying, per the statement, that if there is indeed going to be any changes, it's going to be done constitutionally. But to the extent that this issue started strongly on social media, how does this response from the president to the social media publication strike you?
Well, thanks for having me once again. My view is that I don't think it was necessary for the office of the president to have issued this letter of press, and that whatever was circulating on social media, which was not on the 2nd, but dating back to sometime last year, when there had been speculations that some changes were about to take place or that would take place. Indeed, even in mainstream media, there were arguments that the replacement of the CDS and any affected service commander should take place last year to allow enough time for the new appointees to settle down in their appointments. So social media communication is just social media communication. You cannot even be sure of the source, you say. And I've argued somewhere that in this era, it is possible that the letter to which the office responded even emanated from within those circles, from within government. It's possible. So government should have used other channels, and I've suggested the commentators who appear on different platforms, radio and TVs, and even on social media, use the commentators to debunk, the contents of the letter, and not elevate that letter from social media without the letterhead. There's a telephone number there, I think, but as I said, you can't even be sure of the source. So that's what I think. But that's the approach. It does not address, one, the contents of, the discussion so far doesn't address the contents of the communication on social media, and then the repudiations in the letter of the press from the president's office.
So Professor Zaba, if I get the understanding, your concern is the channel of response to this social media publication about what was allegedly going to happen, even though if you read the statement from the presidency, the intent of it was to address the speculation of a politically motivated change to the hierarchy of the Ghana Armed Forces. There's a lot more to do with how this response was communicated. That's where your concern is.
It remains a social media communication. And I've tried to suggest that it could be fake news. And that fake news could possibly originate from the presidency or from government. And then for the government to turn around and shoot it down. Unless we are able to authenticate the source of the social media communication, we cannot rule out the possibility that it's part of the political game. But my argument remains that if government wants to spend communications on social media, it needs an army, at the office of the signatory to the communication in social media. So you use the communicators, and we're all aware that on every radio program that you listening to TV program and so on, every day, everywhere, there are these serial commentators on all sides of the political divide who call in, to debunk whatever is being communicated. But of course, the communication has come from the presidency. So we now need to discuss what was in the social media communication and the response
from the presidency,
government.
and whether it addresses the details of it. In fact, and that's where it leads to my next question. If I look at the details of this statement from the presidency, they say, or the presidency says, if there is going to be any change to the hierarchy of the military or the leadership of the Ghana Armed Forces, it will be in accordance with the Constitution. That's in the second paragraph. Is it the norm, I mean, you know this as a former or retired colonel, that the presidency would appear to be preempting a decision it is about taking, as what we are seeing now?
That's a concern that I have. You see, apart from law, which includes constitutional provisions and practices, there are also conventions, and there are also norms, and there are also traditions. Now, in our political traditions, I at least cannot recall, unless maybe it happened during Kwame Nkrumah's time, or NLC or NRC or SMC. I cannot recall during this Fourth Republic where a government has put out such a communication to preempt, an event. It's not if. We all know that one of these days, the CDS time would have run out. He would have served his term of office. And per the provisions of the Constitution, the provisions of the Armed Forces Act, and other regulations, he will retire. And when he retires, he needs to be replaced. He will be replaced. So it's not a question of if, as a government communication sought to put out. It's a question of when. Because we're not talking of 2020 or 2021. We're talking of 2023. And the incumbent CDS has done, I think, the 3 years plus, or just about 3 years. In terms of age, he's also reached that limit that goes the position of a CDS. And I've said that he himself is aware. At least I've heard people say or refer to a statement that he made at a certain gathering, saying that, he knows that he'll be going and so on and so forth. So we all know that he will be going. And that is why the speculation started late last year, or extent that people even argue, some people, which I don't support, that if the changes are going to take place, then they should take place last year, so that the new appointees will settle down in their offices in order to be able to provide security during elections. I say I don't subscribe to that, because the military has no role in election security. And once again, we are creating a political culture where we create a problem, and then we turn around to use the military to solve the problem. And in so doing, we compound and complicate the problem.
Colonel Festus Abaje, appreciate your time joining us here on Ghana Tonight. Colonel Festus Abaje, retired, is a security analyst joining us here on Ghana Tonight on this matter. But coming up next, as your Election Command Center, we bring you a wrap of the vetting process for persons seeking to contest the new Patriotic Party's parliamentary primaries slated for January 27. We have highlights and more on what's been happening over the last 48 hours. But Deputy Minister of Finance and Member of Parliament for the Judicial Constituency, for instance, Dr. John Kuma, is among 5 MPs who will have a no contest in January 27. That's on January 27, beg your pardon, when the ruling NPP holds its parliamentary primaries. Some constituents have been expressing mixed reactions over this said development. My colleague William Evans Inkom is our Northern Bureau Chief, is going to be joining me shortly for a quick conversation on this matter. We also monitored what happened in the Northern region. 9 constituencies in the Northern region being held by the NPP were also subject for this contest of with some vetting taking place to, as it were, certify the persons who would take part in the January 27th primaries. But it was not without drama, at least for the Bimbela constituency. We saw some skirmishes and misunderstanding there earlier today. We will get into that shortly and then give you an update on what's happening. But William Evans Inkom is going to join us shortly. But also take a look at what happened in the Northern region as well earlier today, specifically Bimbela, where there was some misunderstanding. William is joining us now. William, thank you so much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. First off, let's start off from the Ejisu constituency. You've been talking to some of the constituents there with respect to John Koma, Dr. John Koma, Deputy Finance Minister. What's been their reaction to the development of he having to go solo?
Well, so I mean, mixed one. Some believe that, well, he has done enough to merit he going solo. Some also believe that there's more job to be done, and competition will have at least, I mean, put him on the edge of delivering the promises that he made to the people or to the constituents before becoming member of parliament. That was in 2020. In fact, the mother of all problems or issues among some of the things that they shared with me has to do with roads, which is also not peculiar to Ejisu alone, because neighboring a constituency, that is Bosomtwe constituency, which is also the constituency of the education minister, Dr. Osei Odichun, road is also a problem. In terms of other social intervention projects and programs, these two gentlemen have done, I mean, what they have to do in terms of provision of education, in terms of providing health facilities or logistics to, or equipping health centers and what have you. It is something that is very common among these two constituencies that I visited today. But the only problem with these two constituencies, of course, which was also shared by constituents, has to do with the poor nature of the road network. And even beyond Ejisu and Bosomtwe constituency, if you go to other constituencies, also problematic. I quite remember Offensive constituency, Yao Opoku, Isaac Opoku, who is also going solo. Some time ago, we had an interaction with him on a Akoma FM, and the member of parliament nearly wept, and he could not conceal anything. He said, well, it is something that have been bothering my mind. My constituents are always on me because of the poor nature of our road network. But if you go to the Ashanti region and you ask anybody, what is the most problem that they want to see it solved, even on a scale of preference, I would be surprised that 80 to 85% of the people that you engage will tell you that the road network is extremely bad. And I'm not surprised that the road minister is here. He's been here for the past 2 days going around. And I just want to believe that there's not going to be another, area of promises, but to see some level of work done.
And I'm going to get into the disqualifications because the Ashanti region had its own fair share of persons being disqualified for one reason or the other. And that's going to be on the screen right now. For instance, in the Inshaiso constituency, we start from there, where the current member of parliament was the Deputy Trade Minister, Dr. Sivinamwa, had Kennedy Kankam was disqualified because he breached the party's guidelines that bans MCs from contesting. That's the reason why he was disqualified. And that's Kennedy can come challenge this particular position. Why exactly?
That was done today. I engaged the chairman of the party here in the Ashanti region, who also happens to be a member of the vetting committee, and he said that as far as he's concerned, nobody has been disqualified. And it's something that they decided to do, that no aspirant or no candidate will be disqualified because they've learned their lessons in 2020. Similar thing happened in the Ashanti region, and the more reason why we saw, especially, a case point is the Fomena. Even though he wasn't disqualified, but some believe that certain quote and unquote mafia tactics also got some people angry, and their contribution to the party's success as far as the Ashanti region with the stronghold of the party was concerned in 2020 was questionable. But Alfred, this is the thing. If you take the party's constitution and you look at Article 12 of the party constitution, it's not explicit. In fact, the only place that you find this, MMDC is not taking part in election explicitly mentioned is Article 13 of the party's constitution, which talks about presidential elections. Parliamentary elections, which is found in Article 12 of the constitution, is not mentioned. But then the party has guidelines and regulations. Of course, in 2020, the same guideline that's being used today was the same guideline that was used in 2020. So MMDCs are not supposed to take part in elections or in primaries where there is a certain MP. And the key word here is in constituencies where there are certain MPs. So that is where Kennedy Kankam was also making his argument, or building his argument for. Kennedy Kankam is in the Asawase constituency, which of course is an orphan constituency. And that is where he is an MC because Asawase constituency is within the Ascori municipality. Now, he was a former member of parliament for Ishiaiso constituency and want to go back to his mother constituency and see if he will be able to get the nod again. So Kennedy Kankam, by virtue of his appointment, wasn't contesting in the Aswasi constituency where he's serving as the municipal chief executive, but he was moving to the Ishiaiso constituency to contest. And if the guidelines is anything to go by, then his argument that and the emphasis was in, as I said earlier, in constituencies, that preposition in to him means that he couldn't have contested Steka if he was the mayor of Kumasi, because Ishia's constituency falls under the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly. But once he's coming from a different jurisdiction, then nothing bars him from contesting, and something that the chairman of the party in the Ashanti region agreed.
I see. So what that technically means is that what? He's going to partake in the election on December 27, going against Stephen Amoah?
Well, absolutely, and he's occupying the third position.
Okay. Now, how about Adansi Asqua? Katie Hammond tried to have, he tried to have, what was the name? Samuel Benfo Dakwa disqualified. That did not happen, right?
No, it was also jettisoned because the position of the party executive was that nobody is disqualified this time around. I mean, if you appear before the vetting committee, you have all your documentation intact. You have to pay your dues. You have to be a good standard member as far as the party is concerned and all of that. Then nothing should bar you from contesting. And that has been their position. So in the Ashanti region, nobody was disqualified.
I see. William, appreciate your time. Thank you. Thank you so much for this. And William Evans Swinkum is our Northern Bureau Chief here at Media General. But there are other disqualifications in the other regions. I'm going to run you through it shortly right now. And I'll take a look at this. At least in the Greater Accra region, as you heard yesterday, we spoke to Samuel Amankwa, who was disqualified by the vetting committee of the also West Wagon constituency. He's contesting this. And today we got to know that he's petitioned the party leadership to have that decision overturned. So that is not also holding. We have in the Okaikwe South constituency, one Richard Hagan was disqualified because of late submission of his forms. and the current member of parliament, Daquan Newman, is there as well. And so we see this and many others. And in fact, we have eyes on what's happening in the Bimbela constituency quite closely. The member of parliament, the sitting MP there is Dominic Nituo, who is the defense minister. And a number of these rather unfortunate incidents that led to the NPP office in the area being vandalized a couple of days ago. But coming up next, on Ghana Tonight, civil society groups, Imani Africa and the Africa Center for Energy Policy opposed President Akufo-Addo's directive for KPMG to audit the GRA SML contract. They've also been punching holes into the whole agreement. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back. Now, two civil society organizations, Imani Africa and Africa Center for Energy Policy, they have described the presidential intervention to probe the controversial SML GRA contract as unnecessary. Now, we have portions of that statement they issued earlier. We're going to put it on the screen right now. The president, if you recall, earlier this week instructed KPMG to audit the deal, which has been subject of allegations of malfeasance in 2 weeks, and present a report of its findings. Such a probe, the groups, I'm talking to Imani Africa and then ASEP, say that it should be conducted by an independent statutory agency and parliament. Now, in the notes that they leave to the president, which we're going to show you shortly, essentially what they say is that in response to this, upon reflection, it's become evident that the situation, whilst politically sensitive, is technically straightforward, notwithstanding ongoing conversations. They say that it has to be terminated. This is the notes that they leave to the president. I'm talking about Imani and ASEP on this GRA SML deal. The SML situation presents an opportunity to, one, holistically examine the many revenue assurance gigs, also across many sectors, particularly the telecom sector, the ports, at GRA, head office, etc., to free up revenue for development. Note that GRA, Ministry of Finance, National Security, and the National Petroleum Authority know exactly how the state loses revenue from the downstream sector. It is a heavily coordinated political fodder for making quick money using unapproved routes to bring in products. Take note of this. It's a heavily coordinated political fodder, and that they want action taking. Those oil marketing companies who sell petroleum products and pocket tax revenue are known by GRA, NPA, and the Ministry of Finance. So that's the last note. They want the president to take action to terminate this. Not even if you talk about an audit, they want an independent statutory body to do so. We'll see the response to this particular statement, but